an entire library was flash-fried into lumps of solid carbon. They looked like charcoal, useless. For nearly 2,000 years, these scrolls sat buried under volcanic ash in the Roman town of Herculaneum. You are looking at the only surviving library from the entire classical world. Hundreds of texts containing philosophy, poetry, history, and secrets. But there was a catch. Every single attempt to physically open one ended in total disaster. The brittle papyrus, once touched by air and instruments, simply crumbled into black dust. A library you could see, but were forbidden to read, a ghost on the shelf, so the scrolls were locked away. A tantalizing forbidden puzzle stored in museums. Think about that for a moment. An entire library of thought from the age of Caesar, lost to time. What debates were settled? What poems were written? What would you give to read just one page? In March 2023, a team decided to force the lock. Venture capitalist Daniel Gross, former GitHub CEO Nat Friedman, and a computer science professor, Brent Seals, who had spent decades on this problem. They did something radical. They took incredibly detailed 3D X-ray scans of the carbonized lumps and released them all to the public. They offered over $1 million to anyone, anywhere, who could build an artificial intelligence to read what was inside. They called it the Vesuvius Challenge. Thousands of minds from around the world joined the hunt. Coders from Silicon Valley, PhD students in Berlin, even interns at SpaceX. They were all looking for ghosts in the machine, faint traces of lead-based ink, fainter than a shadow, hidden inside terabytes of digital data. For months, there was nothing. It seemed impossible. How can an AI read something that is physically unreadable? Then, in October 2023, a breakthrough. A 21-year-old computer science student from Nebraska, Luke Ferreter, found a word. He trained his algorithm on the subtle patterns, stared at his screen, and saw ancient Greek letters emerge from the digital noise. The word was Porphyupsilon-Ra, porphyrus. It means purple, a single word. After 2 millennia of silence, a cheer went up around the world. The code was cracked. Soon, whole sentences followed. Then 15 columns of text, deciphered by a team of 3 students. It was a lost work by the philosopher Philodemus, discussing the nature of pleasure, music, and the senses. But here is the part of the story you won't find in the official press releases. As the AI decoded more and more of the text, a different narrative began to spread online, a darker one. Some claimed the scrolls contained far more than just philosophy about pleasure. They whispered of warnings, of knowledge that was intentionally buried. The project had been celebrated as a triumph of open science, a victory for humanity. So why, according to this growing online story, did powerful people suddenly try to shut it all down? What did the AI find in those ancient words that was so dangerous it had to be buried all over again? Hangs heavy in the digital air. But to understand the whispers, you must first understand the silence that preceded them. For centuries, the Herculaneum papyri presented an impossible barrier. Imagine a library, perfectly preserved, yet utterly unreadable. These carbonized scrolls, discovered in 1752 by workers in Herculaneum, were not just fragile, they were fused. Every attempt to unroll them resulted in destruction. It was a cruel irony for scholars. What secrets did they hold? What wisdom from the villa of the papyri, believed to be owned by Julius Caesar's father-in-law, lay locked within? This wasn't just a few documents. It was the only large-scale library from the classical world to survive, a truly unique collection. Yet, it remained impenetrable. You can almost feel the frustration, the tantalizing presence of knowledge just beyond reach. But how do you read something that cannot be touched? This is where the story shifts. It moves from ancient Rome to modern laboratories, from physical destruction to digital reconstruction. Brent Seals, a computer science professor at the University of Kentucky, saw not charcoal, but data. He understood that while the physical scrolls were lost to time, their internal structure, the faint impressions of ink, might still exist. He pioneered a technology called virtual unwrapping. Think of it like this. You can't open a tightly closed book without tearing it. But what if you could see every single page, every single letter, without ever touching the binding? It's a complex process. It involves X-rays, penetrating the dense layers of carbon, searching for the subtle differences between papyrus and ink. The ink used in these ancient texts was carbon-based, making it incredibly difficult to distinguish from the carbonized scroll itself. It's like trying to find a shadow in a dark room. Yet, the method promised a way forward. Seals's work, supported early on by the National Endowment for the Humanities, laid the foundation. He later stated, "The funding we received from NEH was an absolutely crucial step, without which the Vesuvius Challenge never would have been possible. This wasn't some overnight discovery. It was decades of painstaking research. Imagine the patience required, the sheer dedication to a problem that seemed unsolvable. But even with advanced scanning, the sheer volume of data, the faintness of the ink signals, was overwhelming for human eyes. This is where artificial intelligence entered the picture. The Vesuvius Challenge, launched in March 2023 by Nat Friedman, Daniel Gross, and Brent Seals, was designed to harness that power. They released thousands of 3D X-ray images, digital slices through the scrolls, to the public. They offered over $1 million for solutions. It was an open call to the world's brightest minds. This wasn't about a single genius in a secluded lab. This was about collective intelligence. What if, instead of one mind struggling, thousands of minds could collaborate? The results were swift. In October 2023, Luke Fariter, a 1-year-old computer science student, found the first word. Porphyupsilon-ra, meaning purple. He described it as having kind of this Silicon Valley prestige. A young student, thousands of miles from Herculaneum, reading words written 2 millennia ago. The impossible had been made possible. Soon after, on the 5th of February 2024, the grand prize was awarded to a team including Luke Fariter, Youssef Nader, and Julian Schilliger. They had deciphered 15 columns of text, over 2,000 characters. The text, a work by the Epicurean philosopher Philodemus, discusses pleasure. Federica Nicolardi, a papyrologist, exclaimed, "It was incredible." I thought, so this is really happening. This was a triumph of technology, collaboration, and human ingenuity, a testament to the power of open science. So, why, after such a monumental success, did an online narrative emerge, claiming that this project was suddenly threatened, that powerful forces tried to silence it? What could a text on pleasure possibly contain that would warrant such an extreme reaction, that would warrant powerful forces trying to silence it? The narrative of a shutdown, of hidden dangers, began circulating online. It suggested the AI had found something far more sinister than Epicurean philosophy. Think about that for a moment. A project, celebrated as a triumph of human ingenuity, suddenly viewed with suspicion. This is where the story takes a turn, from scientific discovery to digital folklore. These online videos, often sensational in their language, claimed the deciphered scrolls contained terrifying knowledge. They spoke of warnings that were meant to stay buried. But what evidence supports such claims? Where is the proof of this alleged suppression? The official accounts, the scientific papers, the press releases all paint a picture of ongoing success. Brent Seals, whose foundational work made the Vesuvius Challenge possible, stated on the 5th of February, 2024, that the grand prize contestants had clearly demonstrated what our systematic experimental framework envisioned. He spoke of a breakthrough, not a cover-up. He even thanked the National Endowment for the Humanities for their early support, acknowledging their role in a revelation and breakthrough. There is no mention of any attempt to halt the project. Why then this counter-narrative? Why would anyone suggest a conspiracy when the Vesuvius Challenge is so transparent? You see the thousands of 3D X-ray images, the machine learning algorithms, all released to the public. It is an open-source triumph. Yet the whispers persist. They suggest that the very success of the AI, its ability to read the unreadable, might have stumbled upon something truly unsettling. What if the wisdom of Philodemus, the Epicurean philosopher whose work is believed to have been discovered, was not just about pleasure? What if it contained a deeper, more profound message? A message that some found too dangerous to be widely known. The online theories often focus on the idea of ancient warnings. They posit that the Romans themselves, or perhaps an even earlier civilization, understood something about the world that we have forgotten. They suggest that these scrolls, carbonized in 79 AD by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, were not merely preserved by accident. They were, according to these theories, intentionally hidden. A digital archaeologist, the AI, accidentally unearthing a truth meant to remain buried. The idea that AI could decode a message so potent it threatens modern society is a compelling one. It plays on our deepest fears about technology and the unknown. But consider the facts. Luke Fariter, a 1-year-old student, found the word por Phi Ra, meaning purple. The grand prize team, including Youssef Nada and Julian Schilliger, deciphered 15 columns of text, over 2,000 characters. These texts are being analyzed by papyrologists. The content, as currently understood, discusses pleasure. It is a nuanced philosophical discussion. Where does the fear come from? It does not come from the documented content of the scrolls. It comes from speculation, from the human tendency to imbue the unknown with fantastical properties. The narrative of a shutdown is a key element of this speculative framing. It implies an external force, a powerful entity, attempting to control information. But who would benefit from such a suppression? The Vesuvius Challenge was initiated by Nat Friedman, Daniel Gross, and Brent Seals. Their stated goal was to make these texts accessible. Their entire project thrives on openness and public participation. The Institut de France, the owner of the scrolls, has also celebrated the decipherment. There is no indication of any internal conflict or external pressure to cease operations. The project continues. New words, new phrases, are still being extracted. The full content of Philodemus's text is still being analyzed, and as more is revealed, the online theories clash with the tangible reality of scholarly work. It creates a stark contrast. On one side, the meticulous work of translation and interpretation. On the other, the rapid-fire spread of sensational claims. What do you choose to believe? A scientific endeavor? Or a digital ghost story? The true danger, perhaps, lies not in the ancient words themselves, but in how easily narratives can be twisted, how quickly a triumph can be reframed as a threat. How a search for knowledge can become, in the public imagination, a quest for something forbidden. What if the most terrifying revelation is not in the scroll, but in us? How a search for knowledge can become, in the public imagination, a quest for something forbidden. What if the most terrifying revelation is not in the scroll, but in us? This reframe, this unsettling shift, takes us away from the grand spectacle of AI and into the quiet determination of individuals. The story of the Vesuvius Challenge is not just about algorithms. It is about people, their hopes, and their relentless pursuit of the past. Think about Luke Ferreter, a 1-year-old student hunched over his computer, staring at digital noise. He wasn't decoding secrets of the universe. He was simply trying to find a pattern, a whisper of ink. When that first word, Porphyopsilon Ra, meaning purple, materialized on his screen, it wasn't a moment of fear. It was pure, unadulterated triumph. You can almost feel the surge of adrenaline, the disbelief, then the joy. It was a young man connecting with a lost world, one character at a time. This is not the stuff of shadowy conspiracies. This is the human experience of discovery. Consider the decades Brent Seales poured into this problem. His vision, his unwavering belief that these carbonized lumps held readable text. The National Endowment for the Humanities supported his research early on, seeing the potential long before AI was a viable solution. This wasn't a sudden, dramatic event. It was a deliberate climb, fueled by academic curiosity and a desire to preserve history. He wasn't looking for warnings. He was looking for words. Then there's the team that won the grand prize in February 2024, Luke Ferreter again, alongside Youssef Nader, an Egyptian PhD student, and Julian Schilliger, a Swiss robotics student. These were not powerful figures seeking to suppress information. These were students, driven by intellect and a shared goal. They collaborated across continents, united by the Vesuvius Challenge. Their success, deciphering 15 columns of text, over 2,000 characters, was a testament to open science, not its antithesis. You might wonder, why do these online narratives, these tales of a shutdown, persist? Why do people gravitate towards the idea of hidden, dangerous knowledge? Perhaps it's because the idea of a simple philosophical text about pleasure, written by Philodemus, doesn't quite capture the imagination like a forbidden secret. It's less dramatic, less compelling. But the reality is often more profound than the fiction. The scrolls offer us an intimate glimpse into the mind of an ancient philosopher. His thoughts on enjoyment, on music, on the senses. It's a connection to the human condition across 2 millennia. It's a reminder that fundamental questions about life, about what brings us happiness, transcend time. Think about the thousands of people who participated in the Vesuvius Challenge. They downloaded the data. They wrote their algorithms. They peered into the digital layers of these fragile artifacts. They felt the thrill of the chase, the frustration of dead ends, and the elation of small victories. This collective effort, this shared journey into the past, is what truly defines the project. It's a story of human ingenuity, not human fear. It's a testament to our enduring desire to understand, to decode, to connect with those who came before us. The whispers of a shutdown, of terrifying knowledge, are just that, whispers. They distract from the very real and very human story unfolding before us. They obscure the faces of the students, the professors, the enthusiasts who dedicated their time and talent. What if the greatest revelation from these scrolls is not a hidden warning, but a profound understanding of our shared humanity? What if the true danger lies not in what the scrolls contain, but in our willingness to dismiss genuine discovery for sensational fiction? What do these voices, these